Each badger marks the track with its own scent.
His black legs are short but very powerful for digging. The name badger probably comes from the French word bêcher, meaning digger.
Oh, hello, cricket badgers around the world. It's good to see you again. It's been a while. It's been a while since we did one of these, and that is basically, well, it's 100% my fault because I've not been doing them. But anyway, we are back, and it is, well, we don't need to really introduce this, do we? Because it's Australia against England. It's the Ashes. It's the one we've tried not to talk about, but we have talked about for ages. And we are both looking forward to this series kicking off. I'm not looking forward to a lack of sleep. Lucas, you've got normal daytime hours. It's James and Lucas, by the way. I'm back with you. England against Australia. England on the left-hand side of the screen. Australia on the right-hand side of the screen. And I've got commentary for the first 3 days of the first test. So I'm basically starting at like 2 in the morning and going through till after breakfast time. So I've got to try and work out when I'm going to get some sleep. But that's kind of a bit of a first world problem because it's the Ashes, Lucas. On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you? How much have you been looking forward to this?
Well, hello, James. Hello, everybody watching the podcast or listening on Spotify. 10, James. No matter what series it is, whether it's in England, whether it's in Australia, no matter what players are playing, this for me is the pinnacle of Test cricket. Now, people will say, you got India and Australia, but for me, this is what every week dreams they wanted to play in the Ashes. I certainly did when I started cricket. I wanted to play against England. This, for me, there's no better rivalry in Test cricket or cricket in general than Australia and England. I'm excited. So out of 10, James, 100. Let's get into it.
What everybody dreams of who are English and Australian, I would imagine, because obviously if you're Indian, you ain't going to play in the Ashes, are you? But we're on the eve of it, basically. It is like Christmas Eve, and we have got an England side who have not won a test match, let alone a series in Australia for a very, very long time. We've got but kind of the counter argument, and we've been here before. I mean, from an English point of view, at this stage of an Ashes series, it's all can we, or it's all the hope that kills you. And then we kind of, generally speaking, in recent times, have got back into the kind of drudgery of losing test after test and coming back with our asses beaten, basically. But can this be different this time? Can it be different? Because I don't think, Lucas, this Australian side is quite the Australian side of yesterday and series gone by.
I hear that a lot about this team. I hear that they're saying, oh, well, it's not as good as previous Ashes teams. I disagree. I really disagree. Now, the problem is that the form is not there compared to the other teams. You still got Labuschagne, who's still part of there, Cameron Green, Steve Smith, Travis Head, Alex Carey. You've still got these players that are in the last 2 Ashes series. The bowlers are there minus Cummins for the first test. He'll be fine for the second. And Hazelwood, I think he might miss the first 2. But the players are still there from the last 2 test series. Last 2 Ashes. So I don't really buy that. Yes, they're not as in form as one thinks. They've been playing the last one at Sheffield Shield. There's been mixed results. But I still think this is a very solid team. Now, for England's side, you can say the same thing. They're untested. When they did have their big test, that was in India, and they failed. So this is another huge test with this baseball thing. So we will see. But I disagree when people say this Australian team is vulnerable. I don't see that at all, especially on these pitches. I think I just don't see it.
I mean, the counter argument to that, Lucas, is you would say that, wouldn't you? I mean, Australia. I mean, it's actually quite bizarre this because England have in the last few years, well, certainly since the Ben Stokes reign, have announced their test team sometimes 2 days before the toss. But this time they're keeping their powder a bit dry. They've named their 12. Sherry Bashir's in there, and obviously I think they're going to take a look at the pitch before they announce the 11. But Australia have gone first this time. Their team for the first test: Usman Khawaja, Jake Weatherald. I'll ask you a bit about him in a minute. Marnus Labuschagne, Steve Smith, captain, of course, in the absence of Pat Cummins. Travis Head, Cameron Green, Alex Carey, the keeper, Mitchell Starc, Nathan Lyon, Scott Boland, and Brendan Doggett. So the two in that side there, Lucas. Obviously, Pat Cummins missing out, and Josh Hazelwood as well missing out. The two there that maybe some English fans might not know too much about, Jake Weatherald and Brendan Doggett. Are you surprised to see them in? Would you have gone a different way?
On Jake Weatherald, it's kind of hard for me because I actually know Jake Weatherald personally. I trained with him at my district premier club, Adelaide Uni. So I know him very well. Well, not with me. When I was bowling to him, I made him look very silly. Sorry, Jake, if you're watching, but I have to tell the truth. But no, he did cut me a few times as well. No, he's gone through ups and downs in his career, Jake. He first started in South Australia, then under the coach of Jason Gillespie, that we both know. Jason Gillespie moved him on. He's now gone to Tasmania. Ever since that move to Tasmania, he's been absolutely fantastic. He's played the same way. He's a very aggressive batsman. He likes playing his shots, almost like a Crawley or Bazball type opener. He likes playing his shots. He doesn't like to get bogged down. Very aggressive on the cut shot, very aggressive through the covers. One weakness in his game that probably can be exploited, that he likes bat on ball. And on these kind of pitches, that's a dangerous thing. Now, granted, he actually plays in Tasmania, which their pitches are actually green tops themselves in Tasmania. So he's made a lot of runs the last 2 years on those pitches. Now, with Brendan Doggett, again from South Australia, I don't think he's the best domestic bowler going around. Now, you know my opinions on this. I'm not surprised. He's a tremendous bowler. He won the title for South Australia in 30 years. We haven't won the Shield title in 30 years. He was a big part of that. Brendan Doggett, leading wicket taker. Seam bowler, not much swing, but he gets a lot of seam. So with pitch assistance, he's an absolute nightmare. His start to the Sheffield Shield season has been outstanding. He's taken 5 wickets after 5 wickets. He took a 6-for against Tasmania a week ago, which evidently is probably going to be the pitch in Perth, a pitch like that. So he's a tremendous bowler. You don't expect too much swing from him. He's not that good with the old ball, but with the new ball and seam bowling, he is very prolific. He will take wickets. If there's something in the pitch, there's no doubt he'll take wickets and do a lot of damage.
I mean, England have named their 12. And they're waiting, as I say, until the morning of the toss, I think, to actually decide which player misses out from here. But they've gone Ben Stokes, obviously the captain, Zach Crawley, Ben Duckett, no surprises there. Ollie Pope at 3 was always going to be the case. Joe Root, Harry Brook, Jamie Smith. So there's no surprises at all in England's top 7. Bryden Cast, Gus Atkinson, Mark Ward, Jofra Archer, Sherry Bashir. So I guess the decision for England ahead of the game is whether they play a spinner or whether they go with an all-pace attack. And I've seen a couple of people saying, well, you know, if it's going to be a low-scoring game and it's a green top and it's going to be bowler-friendly, you probably only need 4 seamers. But I mean, I'm not sure if Sherry Bashir would be the answer of the other player I'd play. I did see Mark Butcher saying that maybe Will Jacks would have been his choice because he could provide you with runs as well. And if it's going to be a low-scoring green top where, I don't know, 250 plays, 230 plays, 190 or something, and etc. There may be somebody coming in at number 8 who can score you 30 runs, could end up being almost the match winner. But if you were England and you had that 12, who would you leave out of that?
I'd probably leave out Bashir. I made this argument for Australia with Lyon. Now, we saw a test match in the Caribbean where it was very seam-friendly. They actually left out Nathan Lyon. They played their 4 quicks, Boland, Cummins, Hazelwood, Stark. And we know what happened in that match. That was absolutely disastrous for West Indies. There was an argument for that. There was talk that would happen. Michael Clark said, do you see a time where you just use 5 quicks and not leave out Nathan Lyon during this Ashes campaign? The response was, well, the pitch have to be really green. Well, from what I saw, if you're not going to drop Nathan Lyon for this test, then when are you going to drop? When you're not going to play him from this test? When are you not going to play him when the pitches like this? So there's an argument that you don't really need a spin on these pitches. Now, England, if they don't want to pick a spinner, if it really comes down to it, they've got Joe Root. If it really comes down to it, Australia have got Travis Head. Bo Webster, who's not playing, Bo Webster can give you spin. He's taken wickets against Sri Lanka with spin. So I don't think you need a frontline spinner if the pitch is that green, to be honest, and there's low scores. So I'd agree with you with that, James. I'd pick a professional batsman in that position who can probably give you a 20 or 30. That'd be more valuable than a spinner.
I mean, if we look at the recent results between these two countries, obviously been different on English soil, where it's been a lot more even. Some very good series between the two sides in recent times. But in Australia, 4-0 last time in 21-22 in the 5-match series. 4-0 the time before that in 2017-18 in the 5-match series. Time before that, 5-0 in 2013-14. And then that's... you go back to then 2010-11 when Andrew Strauss's team won 3-1, and that was the last taste of success really that England had down under, because it's basically been 13-0 over the last three series between the two sides. I mean, in a way, it's almost a success if England to take one test match, isn't it, on that basis?
Well, of course, but let's look at it from this perspective, James. Those wickets was basically the same. This will be a brand new wicket. This will be Australian bowlers have wanted green tops for the 5 test series. It looks like so far they're going to get it for this test. From what I've seen, it's you might as well play on grass. From what I've seen the pitch, curators have came out and said there's not going to be a day 3. So pitches are going to be very, very different. I don't think it'll be 5-0 or 4-0. I think that would be very bad for England if that did happen. Very bad. I think it'll be a little bit closer than that because England's bowling attack is very good. They will win a test. I can absolutely guarantee you England will win a test. If they don't, well, I don't know what they can do. I can't help you, nor that I care, to be honest. So I think they will. I think they will win a test, but these pitches will be completely different to what they've played on in Australia. Now they've gone with 4 quick express pace bowlers to try to get penetration from the pitch. I don't think that's necessary on green tops. You don't need that. So have they got that wrong again? Well, maybe. Has Australia...
I've said to you for ages that in the run-up to this, that Scott Boland does not bowl express pace, but gets a lot out of surfaces in Australia. You kind of think about some of the England bowlers that have played in the last year, even that Sam Cooks, maybe even there's a few, aren't there, that in the English county scene that have kind of got close to, or Jamie Porter, Matt Fisher at Surrey, played in the West Indies and hasn't been seen since. The ones that maybe aren't quite rocket pace but can do a little bit with the ball. I think that adds a bit of balance to the attack. If you are going in with a 5-man pace attack, you need a little bit of variation. Otherwise, the bowlers are, the batters are facing the same bowler every time. They might just have a different face. And obviously, with England, you've got Mark Wood, you've got Jofra Archer, who are fast. Gus Atkinson maybe provides a little bit different. But Bryden Carse is kind of a hit the deck in your face kind of bowler. So we'll see how they go. But I think maybe having a Sam Cook or somebody that's a little bit, some people might describe him as dibbly-dobbly. I think that's unfair. In county cricket, I think he's very good. I don't think he got necessarily the surface that he really wanted when he got his one test match for England. So, but there are other options to Sam Cook as well, just to provide something just a little bit different in that pace attack. But we'll see how it goes. They might blow Australia away. If there isn't a day 3, I'm going to lose a day's work, but I might actually by that stage be quite happy, because I might actually just prefer to get some sleep. But we'll see how that goes. But it's good. I've said to you a lot on this podcast over the last 18 months or so, probably before that I'm still very much. I think Bazball is very much a work in progress. I think that there are positives to it. I think there's been some very, very exciting days with Bazball cricket and Ben Stokes' leadership. There's also been some quite disappointing days as well. And I think sometimes they play with their hearts, not their head. And reading the match situation is important. In a 5-match Ashes series where it might be the case that there are a few crumbs for England to actually feast upon, you've got to bet out for a draw. If that chance arises, you don't just kind of go all guns blazing and be out by the middle of the afternoon on day 5. You grit your teeth and you bat long and you bat hard and you bat with the 3 lines on your chest and you go for it, because those draws might end up becoming series defining. ultimately. We saw, when Australia came to England and Jimmy and Monty batted out at Cardiff that time. That was a situation where that draw ended up being vital in that series, with England taking the Ashes at the end of it. So they've got to show some fight, and they've got to really dig in. I worry about the preparation they've had. There's been a few questions about, was that one match between them and the England Lions enough? I don't think it was. And we always say, every time that England, the last 3 times England have gone to Australia and got battered to 0, the preparation has always been criticised. And they've not done any, they've probably even done less this time. And I saw the Ben Stokes response. We're fully prepared. We're taking this kind of seriously. We've been preparing for this for ages. And I take that on board. But I think that there's nothing beats getting out there in the middle on surfaces in a different country, feeling button ball, getting overs in the legs, and actually feeling like you're part of the tour and up and running. So I do worry about that. England might get caught a bit cold in this first test. Do you think it's I'm not sure about this green top situation, because I know what you're saying about the Australian bowlers have wanted this for ages, and this is where they see their strength. But the Australian bowlers are depleted. They've lost 2 of their 3 pacemen, their regular pacemen. And England have got pacemen that could do a job on green tops as well. It's not like England aren't. It's not like England are going to India, where India are serving up spin-friendly tracks where England always struggle. You're giving England green tops where England pacemen have grown up on green tops.
But England at the same time, the bowlers that they're picking are back of the length bowlers. You have to be prepared to pitch it up full. You have to be prepared to leak runs to get wickets. Scott Bowl and Stark do that brilliantly. Yeah, Stark, sometimes he's like a sprinkler. He sprays it all over the place, but he picks up wickets. You got to be prepared to leak runs to get wickets on these pitches. You just can't bowl and hope because it's green the ball will do something off the seam. That's not how it works. You still have to pitch it up at full. So England bowlers have to know that as well. You just can't bowl back a length, bouncing and just hope it will happen. It won't, because Australia won't do that. They'll just, on ball 1, they'll be full. The preparation, I can't believe that preparation. They played 1 game against the English Lions. Well, that's as useless as a flight screen on a submarine door, James. That's just nothing. Absolutely nothing. Sorry about the pun. Me trying a bit of humour there. Look, they've previous tours.
Tried it.
I tried it. Got your laugh. That's a win. It's hard to please an Englishman. It's hard to please an Englishman these days. You've got Australian A tours. Australian A teams, state teams. I'm surprised they didn't play a state team. I'm really surprised they didn't do that. I'm sure a state team would have loved that. Now, you have to remember the Sheffield Shield, which is Australia's domestic red ball tournament, they also play on green top pitches. Ever since they've lost to India the second time around back in 2022-23, 21-22, everything changed. They said, you know what, we're not going to do these flat wickets no more. We're going to go to green tops. We've seen record low scores in the Sheffield Shield. We've seen 20 wickets full on day 1, for crying out loud. The bowlers like Doggett, for example, who's making his debut, he will take wickets. He will pitch it up forward, because he knows that, in the Sheffield Shield, that you need to prepare to leak runs to take wickets. So I just hope England will do that. Well, I don't hope, James. I really don't hope. I hope they just back of the length, bowl it wide. Harmison comes in. But if they want to be successful, they need to pitch it up from ball 1. And if they do get carted, which they will, they have to still stay at their lengths. Boland will stay at his lengths. Doggett will stay at his lengths. Stark will stay at his length. So that's what they've got to do. They've got to be patient. Which, can they be patient? We've seen in India, no. So that's one thing you need to take away from this basketball thing. They need to be mentally strong, because Australia is a nation where they can take the game quickly from you. Now, if you remember the first test in India, James, where it was day 4, the England players, they looked shot. Their heads were down. They looked like they gave up. They can't do that. They have to keep their heads up. Now, if the going gets tough, as you said, they have to stick by it. They have to keep batting or bowling. because at times there's going to be a period where England dominate for a session. There's going to be times where Australia dominate for a session. Whoever keeps their head up and grinds will probably win this series. It will be a bowling series. There's no doubt about that. I don't see many batsmen from either side making hundreds. Maybe Joe Root, Steve Smith, but they need to both teams need to keep their heads up. Australia can do that. Can England do it when the going gets tough? That's the problem, James, that they'll have.
Well, Joe Root, obviously much talked about. Matthew Hayden's going to run naked around a particular ground, isn't he, if Joe Root gets a ton. But the usual suspects have come out with 5-0. I saw David Bumble-Lloyd say 5-0 England. Glenn McGrath's gone 5-0 Australia. It's going to be somewhere in between that, isn't it? I think. But I mean, just looking, you mentioned Mitchell Starc there. He's kind of leading the line, isn't he now? Because obviously with the lack of his usual cohorts in Hazelwood and Cummins in this first test, and it looks like both of them are going to fairly close. I saw Cummins bowling in the nets, looking pretty good actually the other day. So he's not. I don't think he's that far away. But look at Stark's test figures. I think he's very underappreciated by. I don't know about whether he's underappreciated in Australia, but he's certainly underappreciated by England fans, I think, because they tend to look at Cummins and Hazelwood, and think about Starc as being somebody that displays it all around. But he's 100 Test matches for Mitch, 402 wickets at an average of 27. You don't get those kind of figures unless you know how to put that ball down there. And he bowls fast. He gets late swing. You're looking at left-hand, right-hand opening combination for England. I mean, Crawley, I think, could if Starc gets it right, Crawley could be an absolute bunny for Starc, I think, in this series. That's one of my fears for England. You mentioned, not leaving the ball. Ben Duckett doesn't leave the ball, and if the ball is moving around for Mitchell Starc, he's got very capable of getting the edges of bat. And then all of a sudden you've got Joe Root in there and Terry Brook and co. And Ollie Pope. And Ollie Pope needs a big series, I think. I think there's a few players in this England side who really there's some kind of you can see positives in them. I can see loads of positives in Ollie Pope. You can also see negatives in them. So there's kind of that little balancing act of are they good enough? Well, this is a chance to really show you are, isn't it? An Ashes series down under, from an England perspective, is a real chance to actually kind of say, look, this is what I'm born to do. This is what I can do. And so there's a real opportunity. But the downside for England, as I've said to you for a few times, is that they haven't blown away India. The white ball team hasn't been vintage since McCullum's joined it. If they get battered 4-0, 5-0 by Australia this winter, then there is going to be. It's always the case. Every 4 years, they go to Australia, lose 4-0, 5-0. And then there's a whole new review of English cricket about what's going wrong with it, and people will fall on their swords, and people will get and people will retire, and people will get dropped as a result of a very poor performance. So, on the one side of things, there's a real chance for some of these England players to make themselves Ashes legends, and the likes of Ollie Pope to say, "This is what I can do, and this is how good I am." Or the other side of the coin is that it could be horrible.
Well, on Mitchell Starc, I can absolutely guarantee you this, James. I think he dreams about bowling first ball to Zach Crawley and getting him out first ball. I think he can absolutely dream it. We saw that with Rory Burns. If you said to me, without even knowing anything about cricket, Starc gets Crawley in the first over, I'd believe it. He really wants it. Starc has been statistically our best bowler in the last 2 years. Statistically, better than Cummins, better than Lyon, better than Hazelwood. It's been amazing. It's like he's upped his game even further, which is incredible at his age. At his age, it's incredible. He was brilliant in Sri Lanka, where you usually don't take wickets. His pace has been absolutely fantastic. When you get to that age, you look for your pace to go down. His pace doesn't go down. If anything, goes up. His return to Sheffield Shield last week, he took 4 wickets. He looked very quick there as well. He's. I think Australia probably do love Mitchell Starc. There's no doubt about that. It's hard in Australia. It's hard loving a fast bowler because the nostalgic feeling is Jeff Thompson, Dennis Lillee, Mitchell Johnson when he absolutely destroyed England in that series. So it's hard for a real quick to be loved. But I think they love Mitchell Starc. The public, have gone to love Mitchell Starc. They know how important he is to this team. He's one of the first names on the list, with all due respect. The public do love him. I get what you say with England, but at the same time, it's Australia. If Australia lose this series, all hell's going to break loose. There's going to be sackings. There's going to be firings. As far as job security goes, James, this is one of the worst series because no matter what happens, someone's going to lose their job. Someone's going to lose the captaincy. Someone's never going to be playing Test cricket again. That's the most horrible thing. I don't wish on anybody, but that's just the way it is. This is how big this rivalry is. And people from outside of Australia, outside of England, don't really understand that. This is a very big deal for Australian sport. I don't know where this ranks for England sport. I'd imagine very highly, but for Australian sport, this is the pinnacle of Australia. They have to win the Ashes. You have to at least retain them. So jobs are on the line everywhere, James, whether it's England or Australia.
We've had a couple of messages in. Hello to Bloodstained Legends. What a lovely name that you have. I still have faith that the Aussies will win, he or she says. Kamal Brav, somebody I think he says, hello, coach. So Kamal's saying hello. And hello to you, Kamal, back as well. Shall we, I don't want this to be exhaustive because we're going to come back all the way through this series, Lucas, and kind of pick the bones out as we go through. Let's finish off with who you think will be the top Australian batter, who you think will be the top England batter. It's hard because I think, like I said, it'll be a bowling series. I don't. There could be a series where neither batsmen make 100. It could be that series. If curators are coming out saying, we're not going to get past day 3, well, what does that tell you? Literally, curators are right about that. Last time a curator said that was the South African Test in Brisbane, and that lasted 2 days. It was a complete nightmare to bat on. So, to answer your question, most runs for Australia and England. Obvious, Steve Smith, Joe Root. Sorry for being so obvious. But if anyone's going to make runs, it'll be them two. Maybe Harry Brook can be a bolter. Maybe. Big series for Harry Brook as well. Big series. Talk about, a player that's untested. This will test him. This will make or break a play here. Ben Stokes, made that magnificent 100, if you remember, James, at the Wacker, where there was crease lines right throughout the pitch. Fantastic 100. I'm hoping for a series like that from Brook. Well, not really, but while we're on this show, I hope so. Most wickets, I'm actually going to go with Scott Boland. I'm asking you about most wickets, yeah? You sold your horse because I'm going to give my batters now. I'm going to go Travis Head for Australia. I think Travis Head will come in, particularly if it is one where the new ball does a little bit. He can come in and kind of maybe sort of steady the ship, and he can score quickly as well, which is kind of similar to your Harry Brook kind of a bolter thing. Because sometimes if you're only going to bat for an hour, but you bat at the pace of there aren't any slow England batters, are there really? But if say you bat more at the pace of Joe Root than of Zach Crawley, then you're going to get more runs, aren't you? If you're going at the ball. So I'm going to go Travis Head for Australia, and I'm going to go Ben Duckett for England. I think he's going to have a few failures, but I think he'll score some runs as well. So I'm going to go Ben Duckett for England. Now you can answer the question about the bowling.
Yeah, I think these pitches suit Scott Boland to a T. I think he'll play 5 tests. I don't see Josh Hazlewood coming back in this series, to be honest, even if he's 100% fit. I think I would not be surprised, James, if Hazlewood announces retirement after this series. For the last 2-3 years, he's just been too injury prone. Nothing wrong with him, but he's missing tests everywhere. So I wouldn't be surprised. But if he is 100%, I don't see him playing in this series unless there's an injury, especially not dropping Scott Boland. So Scott Boland for me. For England, again, the bowlers are unproven on in Australia. They've done a lot of good things, except for Mark Wood. He's been very good. He took that fifer in Hobart. I like Bryden Castle. I think he's a very good bowler. I've been on his coattail for many times on this show. Again, Archer, Cass, this could be coming of age stuff for them. This could really dictate their career. So I'll go with Bryden Cass for most wickets for England.
I find the bowling quite interesting because obviously 5 Test match series. There are a couple of gaps, aren't there, between the tests? but it's going to be pretty intense because it's not just physically intense. It's the amount of scrutiny and the amount of talk that's around an Ashes series. There's no escape from it, and it's you basically you're tired in your head as well as in your body, I think. So I don't know if many bowlers will bowl, or certainly many fast bowlers will bowl in every single test as we go through. Obviously, Cummins and Hazelwood missing the first one anyway, but I think with England as well, they'll play Archer and Wood in this first one, but I don't think we'll see Archer and Wood playing every single match as we go through. They'll try and pick horses for courses, I think, and ring the changes a little bit as they go through. This first test, I think, is massive for this series. I mean, I'm stating the bleeding obvious there, but I think if England get annihilated, then that sets the tone. If England can, dare I say, win, but kind of at least not lose badly, then they're kind of in the series a little bit more, and therefore they've got something to kind of take into Test match number 2. I mean, we've seen the last 3 times England have been down under it's been all hope at the start, and then 4-0, 5-0, and that hope just disappears, and it ends up being a really depressing tour, I think, for English tourists. So, hope it's not like that this time. But I think for Australia, I can't really go too far away from your Scott Boland one, but I just think Mitchell Starc's going to have. He's got that extra pace, and he also gets the movement that Boland gets anyway. So, movement at pace is tough to deal with, isn't it? And I think Starc can add to his wickets. And for England, I'd like to say Mark Woods, but I don't think he'll play enough tests. And there's always that thing at the back of your mind that all of a sudden he's going to grimace and walk off, and that's the last you'll see of him for the series. So I hope that's not the case. I hope he plays a full part, because if he does, he can really make a difference for England. But I think Gus Atkinson. I think the way Gus Atkinson plays, he will play. I think all 5 if they can keep him on the park, because not only does he bowl well, but he's also got that he bats at number 8 and can provide you with runs as well. So they'll try and keep him into that position. And I think if he gets in the groove on this tour, then he could cause Australia a few problems. So Gus Atkinson for England, Mitchell Starc for Australia. You're dying to say something against Gus Atkinson here, aren't you? I can see it in your face.
Yeah. The way he holds the seam, I don't think he'd be effective at all. He's a wobble seam with the Kookaburra, especially with the lacquer on it. You need to hold it upright seam, so upright. He doesn't do that. He releases it very awkwardly. I don't think he can be effective with that, with the way he holds it. He needs to change his stand. Now, I've also mentioned this on other shows. The Kookaburra is completely different to the English ball. We all know that. And the way it feels is completely different. So the way he scrambles it, I don't think he'll be effective. I could be wrong. Maybe he'll pick that up. A bowling coach has coached him to say hold the seam up straight. But if he's going to bowl with a wobble seam, he's not going to take many wickets. I can absolutely guarantee you that's not the way the Kookaburra ball works. You have to hold it seam up to get the maximum swing, the maximum seam. So I hope a bowling coach has got him to that, and to hold it a little bit more better than the way he handles it, because he won't take wickets. I can promise you that. Nothing against Gus. I think he's a fabulous cricketer. Nothing against him. Absolutely nothing against him, but he just needs to hold the ball up seam straight when you're bowling with a Kookaburra ball compared to a Duke's ball.
Never seen him smile, though. Never seen Gus Atkinson smile. We'll see if he smiles during the 5 test matches in Australia. Kamal's come back on. He says, is Scott Boland the most unplayable bowler ever on Australian soil? Better than McGrath and Bumrah? Because basically what he's saying, he's a specialist on Australian soil, only in Australia kind of thing. He is a real threat to England, isn't he? Because he's capable, in the same way that Stuart Broad used to get on those rolls. Remember Trent Bridge-Lucas? Scott Boland can get on those rolls with the ball, can't he? When the ball starts to do a little bit of talking, he starts to make it really shout. And he could have some tremendous little sessions, Scott Boland, if it goes right for him. Let's finish then with a series prediction. Scoreline after 5, Lucas.
Scoreline after, yeah. Thanks for the Trent Bridge memories. You talk about losing the first test. You know, that first session completely took my heart away, and I knew we weren't going to come back from that series. What a waste of time.
Really sad, wasn't it, Lucas? Really, really sad.
Yeah, it was that sad. I had to watch the rest of the series, even though we were going to lose. That's the most disappointing thing about it. Don't you hate that? Now, series prediction. I think England will win a test, but I think Australia's bowlers are going to be way better than English batsmen compared to the English bowlers to Australian batsmen.
Just before you give me numbers, will there be a test match along the way where a draw comes into the equation, either through weather or through 600 plays 700?
No, not with weather, absolutely. But I can absolutely guarantee you there will not be 500, 600 score unless Australia have already won the Ashes. And then they might say, you know what, let's go back to business. But as long as the Ashes are alive, you will not. I can absolutely guarantee you not see scores of 500, 600. That will not happen. I don't think you even see scores of 300, to be honest. With weather, Brisbane, the last test in Brisbane in India got washed out. They've moved that test away to make sure that doesn't happen. Sydney always rains. So there's a high chance that there can be a draw due to weather, but not by amount of runs on road. That won't happen. As I said, England will win a test. I think Australia will win 4-1.
My prediction before we had that last little chat, and I think it's going to have to be rain, I think, isn't it? It's just whether, if we're going to see results in 2.5 days, it's going to have to rain a hell of a lot, isn't it? To kind of deny them the time to actually do. I've got to go against you. I'm not going to go in favour of England because I don't think they'll win the series. There's a lot of talk at the minute, all the kind of big what's-its in England sort of saying we're going to do this, that and the other. I disagree with you. I don't think it's quite the Australian side that we've seen in the past. But then there's in the same way I said there's a chance for some England players, there's a chance for some of these Australian players that to kind of show what they can do. Cam Green could make himself the new Gary Sobers. You know, you love him. So I'm going to go 3-1 Australia. I'm going to go 3-1 Australia. I think England will get one along the way.
Yeah,
possibly the final test of the fourth test or something like that. But I think it'll be Australia's series.
They will be better, England. This series, they will be better than previous tours. If they lose 4-0 or 5-0, well, I'm sorry, that's not good for cricket. If you're a neutral, that's a bad result. No matter how probably a good result for Australia, they wouldn't care, but a bad result for a neutral. But I'm telling you this right now, England will be better. They will. I'd be absolutely shocked if they didn't win a test. So at least they've got that God for them. How much better they will be is the big question. But I think they will be better than previous tours.
And Kamal's come on. He says Australia should win 5-0.
No, I don't see that.
If it is 5-0, 4-0, maybe even 4-1, I think the Rob Key, McCullum era may be over.
Yeah. I agree.
As you said, the Ashes basically trumps everything, rightly or wrongly. I just think it's wrong that we talk about the Ashes through an India series, which is big enough on its own. But the Ashes for English and Australians is the pinnacle. And as a result of that, if you win, you become immortal. If you lose, you get sacked. And that's just basically it, isn't it?
I'm not happy with Jared Kimball's comments. I don't know if you watched the podcast he does with Bumble and that. Where he rated the Ashes the fourth best in Australian cricket. I thought that was absolutely crap. I don't know what the hell I don't know what the hell he was on about, Jared Kimball, when he said that. He said the 50 over World Cup, India versus Australia, South Africa versus Australia. There is no rivalry. The sandpaper saga does not make a rivalry, with all due respect. I don't know who the hell he was talking to. I wish he was on the show. I could tell him this. I don't know who you were talking to, mate, but that is absolute blasphemy. You said that. Australia and England is number one. I don't think you'd find anyone in Australia would say anything different about the Ashes. Every boy's ready to play the Ashes. That's my point.
Nobody in England would say anything different either. So it's in terms of cricket anyway. So it's I think. Well, I mean, what we do wrong on this podcast, Lucas, is we're not controversial enough. We don't say these outlandish opinions to get attention. We just tell it as it is, and we tell people what we actually really think, rather than make things up to get.
Well, I do anyway. I tell it how it is, no matter how stupid it sounds, but I'll still go with it.
I'll leave the listeners to decide whether it's silly or not. What you say? We'll find out at the end of the 5-match series, Lucas, whether you were right or wrong. Kamal says India is the toughest competitor of Australia, but that's only a relatively recent thing. Don't get me wrong, India, Australia, England, India. They are a fantastic series that I look forward to no end. But nothing beats the history. Nothing beats the rivalry of England against Australia.
And may God have mercy on the Australian soil if you even lose this Ashes, because I'm going to be depressed. James will love this. I'll be depressed, crying every single day during the winter. There would be not enough days for me to hide from this man's gloating. So may God have mercy on your soul if you even attempt to lose this Ashes. Don't even think about it. We can't even win in England, for crying out loud. That upsets me. At least not do it here, please.
Well, there you go, England cricket badges. There's a reason to tune in. If England are doing well, let's watch Lucas's misery as we go through the next couple of months in Australia. Whoever you support, whether you're Australian or English or just a neutral, let's hope it's a fantastic series. Let's hope it is a little bit more even Stevens than some of the ones in recent times, because we want the drama. We want that. We want those moments of excellence, and they come from, the best pieces of drama come from little 50-50 battles where somebody comes out on top, don't they? So we'll see how it goes, Lucas, over the next few weeks. I'm sure I'll talk to you no end over the next couple of months as we go through the 5 Test matches in Australia. I would say good luck, but I would not mean it. No,
it's come to this now, hasn't it? It's gone a little bit nasty now. But that's what the Ashes does to it. You won't get that with any other rivalry, James. That's what the Ashes does. We get very nasty and personal. It's going to be interesting to see my reactions if we do a podcast test by test to see my emotions. I could be on cloud 9 after the first test, or I could be down in the dumps after the first test. We'll wait and see, James. We'll wait and see.
I'll revise what I said. I won't say good luck because I wouldn't mean it. I just hope your tears aren't too plentiful and you don't actually literally drown in them. Just keep you kind of like your mouth and your nose just above your tear line, and then that'll be okay. Anyway, thanks for joining me, Lucas. I will see you soon, and thank you out there for watching and listening. Enjoy the Ashes, everybody.